I'm Adam Lahar, and today we are beginning the second of our presidential debates here at West Potomac. There will be three topics in this debate: race relations, cyberterrorism, and the Electoral College. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to respond to the question, and then we'll have 6 additional minutes for debate, but no single answer from a candidate can exceed 2 minutes. As moderator, I may also ask follow-up questions to the candidates. I have personally chosen the questions, and I've been the only one to see them. Neither candidate or their campaigns know what these questions are. Our audience will be silent for this debate, except for right now, as we welcome our 2 candidates, Brendan Gill and Samaki Barua.
Samaki, an icon. Love you, Brendan.
Sure.
We will now start with our first question. A coin toss has determined that Brendan will answer first. Our topic is cyberterrorism.
Where is the point?
Brendan, you have made the issue of cyberterrorism and internet privacy a major feature of your campaign. What would you do to improve the United States' strategy in respect to deterring and fighting against malicious activity in cyberspace?
So the main thing I would do is to increase funding into our cyberterrorism groups. Right now, they are funded minimally. They are underfunded and underworked. We need to increase their staff, increase their budget, and increase everything they do to increase the safety of American citizens. Right now, our American citizens are not safe from cyberterrorism. Over 80% of American citizens have faced cyberterrorism in their lives, and all of them have been affected by this. And a survey released by the Pentagon released that 438 companies that were affected by cyberterrorism, out of all of those, only 2% or only 5% noticed that they were being invaded, and only 2% reported that. So only 2% of those companies being invaded by cyber terrorists are reporting that they're being invaded. This is atrocious. We need to get these numbers up so our Americans can feel safe, and these corporations can work with American citizens instead of being above them.
Now, how do you plan to go about funding this increase?
So we can increase taxing on the wealthy, and we can divert other military spending from other bullshit projects into that funding. So yeah, so like the jet fighters, like all of that, like the aircraft carriers that are coming out of date right now, we need to decrease funding from those programs and move them into cyberterrorism. Right now the budget is near $600 billion, and I can guarantee you that a lot of that is going to waste, and we can move those wasteful spending funds back into the military budget.
Back into the military budget or towards the cybersecurity budget?
Cybersecurity budget.
So when we talk about cyberspace, we talk about things that are happening all around the world according to the Internet of Things. So technically, everything is connected according to the Internet. So the core of the problem is how everything is connected. We need to think about how the cybersecurity is preventing this connection from outside perspectives or anything inside the U.S. that are hacking into our systems. We need to care about the American people. My opponent had said that we need to decrease military spending for more cybersecurity. However, if we decrease military spending, how much are we caring about the physical security of our American people? How much are we caring about how we're being affected by other countries or our sort of enemies around the world? Increasing cybersecurity is a priority, but it is not a good idea to think about how we can increase funding for these projects. Funding isn't necessary to create cybersecurity for our internet users and the middle class and lower class that are being affected by these financial breaches. Therefore, we need to decrease spending on the Internet of Things to solve the core of the problem, and therefore protecting the American citizens according to that.
So you believe that we should not increase funding for cybersecurity?
I don't think funding does much to increase cybersecurity. We need to actually fix the core of the problem to fix that. Throwing money at this problem isn't something that we can fix it with. Cybersecurity doesn't work according to money. It works according to how proficiently our workers are working on this, and we need to focus on that.
And that all comes back to money, however. These cybersecurities are being paid. They are not being paid enough to fund these workers so that they can make an Apple living and actually have enough workers to combat this problem.
Do you have evidence on that?
I do, not. But I will tell you this. The Defense and Information Security Agency found that 88% of the 3,000 defense computers, systems that they attacked themselves to test their defenses, were easily penetratable. That means that all of these defense intelligences are being attacked cybernetically. And out of all of that, only 88% of those were easy, or all of the 88% were easily penetrable. Now, I would say that that is a bigger threat than the physical threats that we're concerned with right now, where the military budget spending goes to.
Well, you just said right now that the security isn't good right now, and so if we improve our security like every 2 years, that can prevent these hacks from happening. Improving the security every year shows that we're actually concentrating on cybersecurity. Throwing money at the problem right now will only decrease it for the next year. Throwing however money he said throwing right now, that would decrease the cybersecurity. That would increase cybersecurity for the moment. We need to think long term. If we improve the cybersecurity from years and every 2 years or every 1 year, that would help combat this problem for all Americans in the long term.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, but how are we going to do that without funding for the program?
Well, you're not thinking about what's wrong with the actual program. You just said that we're not funding it enough, but you didn't provide enough evidence that we're not funding it enough, so that's therefore irrelevant.
It is irrelevant that we are not going to be putting funds into it because they need those funding.
How do you know we don't have funding right now?
Because the citizens right now are being attacked way too much.
Well, then the money isn't the problem. What the actual programs are the problem.
And how we improve the program is by funding it. We need to institute people who know what they're doing and fund them properly so they can break down their management and so that they can fund their citizens and the people working for them to better institute safety for American
How do you
citizens.
know they're not actually doing that now? You don't
Because of the
have
numbers
any
that
evidence.
American citizens are being attacked by. If we see the numbers, it will not lie that American citizens are being attacked. Corporations are being attacked. Everyone across the globe is being attacked by cyber terrorism, and it is true that we have not enough funding if they are being attacked.
Brendan, do you have any numbers for what you just said? Okay, for our follow-up question, Ms. Maki, do you believe that the United States should consider cyber attacks on government institutions to be equivalent to armed attacks?
Yes, because okay, so if we're thinking about cybersecurity, we need to think about protecting the Americans both in the internet and what their actual financials, the hacks of their computers. And if we're thinking about security, the physical security, that's also something that we need to care about. So they're both on the same level if you think about it, because if we're not being secure, physically, and we're not being secure both in our money, in our credit cards, we're not being secure at all. So we need to focus on both to solve this problem.
Would you repeat the question?
He said, should the United States consider cyber attacks on government institutions to be equivalent to armed attacks?
I do believe they should be, because right now we are unsafe at our homes and in these government institutions. They are the backbone of American safety, and if they are being attacked, then all of America is being attacked. So we need to treat these as a broad-based attack against Americans and against our physical implements and our cyber implements.
But if you plan to decrease military spending and decrease all of what we're spending on military and put it more into cybersecurity, didn't you just say that we have to think about more cybersecurity and less about how we're physically secure?
That is exactly what I said, and you just proved my point, because we need to decrease the physical spending and increase more to the cyber spending.
But you just said they're on the same level.
I said that the attacks are on the same level, not the spending. The physical attacks and the cyber attacks are on the same level, but the spending should not be on the same level.
But okay, so you do care about that we're being physically secure.
Yes, but it is more important to be cyberly secured. But these attacks should be considered on the same level of being attacks, because that's what the question asked. If they were considered attacks.
So we should spend the equal amount on both, don't you think?
No, I do. I think that we should be spending more on cybersecurity and diverting funds from the military programs into cybersecurity funds.
But since they're both you just said that they're on the same level. If you're thinking about
The way
one
that-
or the other, how are they on the same level?
The way the question was worded is should they both be considered attacks? Not this, none of the funding was linked to that attack word.
Well,
So
the
we were
funding,
defining.
you say, okay, so according to you, you say the funding is what allows us to be more secure.
Yes.
So, be secure from those attacks.
Cyber attacks, yes. And also, so the way the question was worded, and I'll tell you this right now, because it seems there's some misinterpretation of it. The question was worded, is the physical and the cyber security both be considered attacks? And I could say they both can be considered attacks on American people.
Abby, could you please repeat
Yes,
the
I
question?
said, should the United States consider cyber attacks on government institutions the equivalent of armed attacks? And by that, I was referring to how we should be reacting to them. Would you react to a cybersecurity attack as you would to a physical attack on American government institutions?
Yes. Yeah, I already addressed this question. Yes, we should be reacting to them the same way because we cannot afford to be concentrating one over the other.
But if you want to react to them the same way, then why aren't you going to be increasing the funding of cybersecurity programs to level it with physical security programs?
So, with that, I think we can move on to our next question. And so this next question will be going to Samapti. And our next topic is going to be dealing with the Electoral College. So Samapti, your campaign slogan declares that you are a voice for the voiceless. And with our current system of the Electoral College, there are disparities in the weight each vote has depending on the state, with citizens in smaller population states like Wyoming having more powerful vote per person than individuals in higher population states. How do you propose that we create a more equal electoral system?
Well, as of now, the electoral system is based on a winner-take-all system, which is that we're counting 51% of the popular vote to be a majority. 51% leaves out the 49% that voted the other way. We need to think about all of them, all of the people that are voting for whoever they are voting for. We cannot concentrate only 51% on one candidate and 49% on the other. That is not an equal majority. We need to make this a majority electoral system, and winner take all also means majority. Majority is according to 2/3 of the vote. So if we consider 2/3 of a vote in each district, in each state, we can think about 2/3 of, considering Virginia, for example, there are 13 districts, and if we consider 2/3 of each district to be the vote for the final candidate, then that will make the electoral system more equal and more of the popular vote represented in our government system.
So even if this were to affect your election, would you still agree to changing the electoral college system?
Absolutely. We need to think about what's happening in the long term, and even though right now we are in this election, we can improve this. If we improve the system now, we can have equal elections in the future, and this current election an equal election.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with the general consensus of what Samapti is saying. The electoral system right now is out of date. It was made back when the Constitution was made back in 1784, and it is severely out of date. Right now, citizens do not get their one vote, one person. They get one vote, not one person. So this is not breaking down to every citizen getting an equal and fair share. What it's breaking down to is these electoral representatives from the Electoral College deciding America's fate. We don't want that. What we want is America speaking for itself. So what we need is one vote, one person. And that's how we're going to fix this system. That's how we're going to show that one vote, one person is going to elect the best person. And there's also this idea of the majority, as Samapti has said. And there should be a majority of candidate or a majority of Americans supporting one candidate. There shouldn't be a split kind of thing. So what we need is these citizens to be voting for multiple presidential candidates to see which one they all vote for. Right now, the electoral system is based on 2 main candidates running. What we need to change is how many candidates are running. We need more candidates to see which ones the American people would like most. And the way it's run now is these big 2 parties are deciding America's fate. We don't need that right now. What we need is multi-parties and multi-parties representing American people.
You frequently mentioned that you were interested in changing the Constitution, and is changing the Constitution how you go about changing the electoral system, and will you frequently change the
I would need the support of both the houses to be able to change the Constitution, and that is going to be a long and hard process. What we can do right now, however, is the executive orders that we can do right now to implement policies, and we can start making moves to implement these policies to try and change fundamental things that are wrong in the Constitution. Now, this may come in multiple forms. It may come in changes to the Constitution itself. Amendments may come in rulings in the houses, and stuff like that.
So my opponent proposes a multi-party system in our electoral votes. Multi-party systems is evident that they do not represent the popular vote. According to the actual electoral system in the UK, they actually have the electoral system of a winner-take-all system, same as ours, and they have a multi-party system. However, these multi-parties aren't being represented in the in government. So how it works is that the majority, so if we have multi-parties, maybe 3 parties even, 30% of the votes go to one party, 30% of the votes go to another party, 30% goes to of the vote goes to another party, and 10% goes to another party. That does not represent a majority of the popular vote in the United States. We cannot allow our popular votes to go out of the government. This is a democracy. We need to think about how the people are being represented in government, and we cannot allow this multi-party system to break our actual government at the moment. As my opponent also said, that the Constitution is outdated. However, we are working with so the amendment process allows us to change the Constitution in whichever way we please.
Which is a long and
And
arduous
judicial
process.
judicial
Which very rarely
activism
happens.
also allows us to improve the Constitution. Even the document that was written, it said that it was written by flawed humans that can and should be critiqued. And we are critiquing them in the way of the amendment process and judicial activism. Our government is hands-on on making the government more into this date, and we cannot risk losing the foundation of our country.
When was the last amendment we passed?
The 26th Amendment.
Okay, do you know when that was implemented?
Questions?
What was that?
We respond to the question, not ask other questions.
Okay, then repeat the question, please.
I asked, with our current system of the electoral college, do you want to change it? That's what I asked.
Yes. So, right now, what Samatha was arguing was that the 3-party system would eventually come back to a majority rule. And that may be true, but we need to start making moves right now. The way that we need to have the multi-party system set up is to represent minorities. Minorities are not represented right now in American government. They are white males who are taking the majority of seats, who are taking the presidency. That's what we need to change right now. What we need to change is representing these minorities, representing the under-income people, representing the poor people, representing every single person in the United States fairly and equally. This 2-party system is crushing the minorities, and that is the truth.
Part of the reason for the implementation of the electoral college was the framers believed that it would represent a rural minority. So you believe that a rural minority should not be represented?
Could you define a rural minority?
Rural minority, as in states with smaller populations who live far from urban areas.
Okay, repeat that entire question, please.
The framers implemented the electoral college as our electoral system because they wanted to represent a rural minority, so that it was not dominated by the urban areas.
Now that question is slightly flawed because they also did it because they didn't trust the American citizens. Right now what we need is trust between the American citizens and the American government. What we need is people working with the government and not against it. We need to have these cooperations, and we need more transparency in the government. And that's the only way we can solve this. The rural minority is maybe an issue, but is a smaller issue compared to this cooperation between its citizens and the government. The government had no trust in its citizens. That's why they implemented the Electoral College. Right now, that system is outdated because we need to trust our citizens if we're going to expand globally, if we're going to make domestic changes.
Well, as I said, according to like 5 seconds ago, if we focus on the majority in each district, that minority is going to be represented. The minority in the South, the rural minority that are currently being unrepresented, will be represented if we account for each state and each district that that the popular vote is being accounted for. The popular vote is as I agree with my agree with my opponent, is not being represented. But reordering the entire foundation of American politics is not the way to do it. We must think about how we can improve the system from what it is now. Removing the entire system will easily overthrow our entire government. So, in a majority of each district in each state, proves that the rural minority will be represented, and that's in the Constitution. We just haven't been following it. So if we follow that, we can improve the popular vote and allow these minority communities to be represented in the government.
So you don't wish to get rid of the electoral system, the electoral college system?
No, but improve it.
I wish to get rid of it completely. As I said before, one vote, one person is not being implemented. What we need is Americans working with its government. And the system that Samapti declares is not going to change that. What it's going to do is improve a broken and flawed system.
One person, one vote will be represented if we account for the majority in each district. We're not accounting for the majority in each district. Right now, we're accounting for the majority in each state.
Districts are not fairly drawn. We've seen that wholeheartedly even in Virginia. Gerrymandering is however clear and evident. And very rarely do these cases ever get disputed. The one in Virginia has been disputed, but is not over yet. And these cases were evident in the last election. So how are we supposed to be fair if these cases are still evident in our system?
Well, why don't we just fix the gerrymandering problem? We need to, okay, how we can improve this electoral system if we account for all of the things that go into this system.
Isn't fixing the gerrymandering problem?
Redistricting, gerrymandering, and the reapportioning of government and the representative of each state shows that we can redistrict without gerrymandering in each state. And as long as we account for that, the majority will be accounted for in each district.
It sounds like you want to change the entire system now. See, if we start working from the bottom to the top, what we're going to be doing is changing the bottom up next steps, and that's going to change the entire system eventually.
Who are we to change the entire system?
We are the government of America. What we need to do right now is work for our citizens. We don't need to crush their opinions, crush their beliefs in a system that is inherently flawed.
You want a chance to respond?
Yes. So this electoral system has been in play for. This electoral system has been in play for centuries, decades on end, and it has been working for America. As long as we improve this as what we have now to represent the popular vote, we will not be changing the entire electoral system.
Has it
We will
worked
be
for America?
improving it, taking away the gerrymandering that are rare cases that have been happening in each state will not disrupt the entire system. It'll improve it. Nothing is wrong with not proving that the popular vote will be accounted for in government.
Okay, so you said that the system is working in the past, but has it though? We see constantly white presidents, white male presidents. There has been one black male in the seat of presidency. How does this system work if it's supposed to represent the equal minorities? If there has been
Okay,
50
so you said that we have one
50%.
black male in our presidency, which was 4 years ago. In our current system, this has been 4 years ago. That's not that long. It's been working because that's what
But we've
it
been
is
around
now.
for 200
We have to
years.
think about what's happening that's recent. It's not like what that one black president has come into office like 50 years ago that we never look back at it. It's been changing. The electoral system has been changing and has been working.
Okay, this will be a good segue into our next question, which deals with the topic of race relations in America. So Brendan, this question will be for you. In a 2018 report, the FBI reported that there was a 17% increase in hate crimes from 2016, and that 3 out of 5 hate crimes were motivated by race. Why are you the better choice than your opponent in order to combat the rise in hate crimes and white supremacist activities?
Because like a fundamental belief in my campaign is we need to be representing the minorities. Right now, the police are treating minorities differently than they are treating white people. That is so clear in this police brutality scene and the police misconduct scene. We need to change it inherently. We need to change how these police think of minorities and how they treat them. Right now, 13% of the population is black. 50% of them are in prison. Or not 50% of the population, but 50% of the prison population are black. This unequalness is so evident in our police system that we need to change it right now, and we need to start making moves to change it. Now, we can do this in a lot of ways. We can start doing executive orders, we can go through Congress, we can do it in a number of ways. And we need to start every single one of these processes to try and make it into a better system for our American citizens and for our government. Because what we do right now is dependent on our citizens. We need our citizens as the backbone of America, and these citizens are not being represented equally in the system, and are not being treated equally by the system.
And how far will you use your presidential power to address discrimination?
As far as it'll go. We need to do every single thing. I will do every single thing in my power to get minorities represented equally and treated fairly. Right now, I don't believe our candidate can do that, or my candidate can do that. She is a goody two-shoes in a sense. She will not make moves to change. She will be the status quo. She will try to do the status quo for everything and try to exceed it maybe, but she will not try to change it. She will do what is given to her and not out of those limits. We need to change boundaries. We need to break boundaries, and we need to go beyond them.
I think you underestimate my power. First of all, I agree with you that the system is flawed, that the judicial system is flawed. Yes, the police, there are instances where this has been happening in America, which is it does not represent what we stand for as Americans. However, one of the most important things regarding race relations is how long these sentences are. We need to fix the problem from the core. We need to fix it from the core of the problem. So, a black man who commit the same crimes as white men receive federal prison sentences that are on average nearly 20% longer, according to a new report from the USSC. This proves that the judicial system and how long sentencing is for, according to race, is not equal. If we improve that, we can improve the incarceration rate. And I agree that we should also improve the how police are handling these crimes, because of course it is unequal. But also we need to think about how the prosecutors of these cases are handling these crimes, because they're giving sentences that are much longer than the white race and to these minority communities, which is not showing that we are giving equal opportunities for everyone in America. I'm not saying we stick to the status quo. I think we should change this system immediately to prove that everyone is being treated equally in our system, and that we are sentencing the same amount we would to a white man and to a black man.
And one quick follow-up question. So how does this all relate back to decreasing hate crimes?
Well, so if we improve this this system, so if we show Americans what we are as a system, we are the representative. The government is the representative of what American people want. If we improve the system from what we see in the judicial system, then we can show America that we believe in equal rights for all. This, according to the hate crimes against these minority communities, is with police brutality. If we improve this system, we can show that we agree with equal rights and we are upholding the 14th Amendment.
So what we also need to change right now is how our politicians are acting in regards to this issue. So I'd like to bring up a quote that you like to say every so often. It's in regards to Caucasian girls. So you'll call them whiteys. Now, how are we supposed to be fair and equal and honest in our politics if the president, the soon maybe to be president of the United States, is treating these issues as a joke? We can't treat these issues as a joke. I don't think so. No, we have to take them with seriousness. We have to change them right now, from the very top, from the very bottom, from every single place on the issue. We need to change it from the presidency. We need to change it from the police misconduct. We need to change every single thing we regard in this issue and change it right now so our kids and our families can feel safe. We don't need them being shot in the street. We don't need them being shot in wherever you want. We need them feeling safe because the police are here to work with us. That is their goal, and that is not what's happening right now.
And I quote, Brendan had said, and I quote, "Feminism does not work." Brendan had said this on Wednesday, May 20th, that feminism does not work. And he also had said right after that, "I will fight Somopti's racism, with racism, like PEMDAS.
Okay, but
Does
inherently,
this not prove that my opponent is taking everything according to gender and race as a joke as well? I do not say the word whitey as a word that is racist against white communities. I say it as something that that is easily spoken as a group, and they're not offended by it. So this does not count as
oh,
a
so
hate
how are you
crime
supposed to know if
against
they're
this
not
group.
offended with it? You don't speak to them about it. You
I
speak
am
behind
friends
their
with them.
backs.
I am friends with them.
And I'd like to bring it regards to the issue of what I said. Yes, I did say all these things, but in a clearly joking manner, with a clearly joking person.
But why should we continue listening to you if you contradict everything you say? Half of the class does not understand what you say during your speeches, and they have to ask you questions even before you're done, because you do not make sense to the American public. How will you communicate with our foreign leaders? How will you foreign countries? How will you communicate with anyone if you are contradicting yourself time and time again and not communicating well to the American public?
But I'd like to bring back to the fact, what is the goal of debate class? And for me, it is to have fun. It is a class where I can talk with my friends to show them policies that are often outrageous.
And as a president, he will act like everything is fun as well.
I like to
He wants things to be fun.
Can I
He
speak?
wants the government to be fun.
So I like to take an outrageous spin on things. I like to spin things how they're not normally seen. And I don't believe in those things a lot of times that I go up there to talk about. So when I'm president, we can change things firmly. That is my true stance. And we can't take these out of context.